Welcome back to another video, and these are my favourite speed day shoes of 2024. Last week was all about the long run shoes, this week is all about those speed days. Now usually my training consists of at least a couple of workouts a week, meaning that finding the right workout shoes is really important to me. My preference is, well, for those longer tempo style efforts, a little bit more cushioning is ideal. For those shorter, faster workouts, something a little bit more lightweight and snappy is exactly what I'm looking for. And what I've done is highlighted three of my favourites from this year. I've got some honourable mentions to shout out as well, and also talk about the ones that didn't quite do the job for me. So let's kickstart with the honourable mentions. We'll save the ones that didn't quite work for the end. So we're talking about the Saucony Kinvara 14, the Brooks Hyperion Max, and then of course the Hoka Max 6. The reason those first two are thrown in because they're last year's models, but I did use them at the beginning of this year. Both shoes really good. Now I know the Kinvara 15's out, and I know it's just minimal changes from the 14. So again, if it's anything like what the 14 was, it'd be a highly recommended shoe from my perspective. Something that I really enjoyed putting those top end workouts in. Something super light, super nimble, and something that feels comfy but gets the job done really well. It's very much a stripped down shoe, one of the lightest in fact that I own. And of course the Brooks Hyperion Max was just the best do-it-all shoe for me, one of my favourites to do workouts in. It really did cover the longer stuff better, but I did find it to be super efficient to cover both types of workouts that I like to do. Yes, I probably would favour something like the Kinvara 14 for the top end stuff, but ultimately the Hyperion Max could do it well, and the longer stuff even better. I also wanted to shout out the Hoka Max 6 as well. It's a shoe that I managed to get to 400 miles this year. Absolutely fantastic, and definitely up there for shoe of the year for me. It's not a shoe that I use too much for workouts. I used it mainly for easy runs, moderate runs, and some occasional longer runs, but I did actually put 2 or 3 workouts in it in the year, and I have to say it handled them really damn well. And in fact the last the last run that I did in the shoe was in fact my morning double threshold workout. I was running in and around sort of marathon effort. So yes, it wasn't the top end stuff, but I did do a workout with top end work in it back earlier in the year. That video's on the extra channel, and again it handled it really well. It's a shoe that when I started to use it, I found that it was much better suited for those easy runs. The comfort levels were fantastic, and it was something that I just went for on those easy and moderate days. But don't be fooled, that thing is very good at faster paces as well. So I did want to throw that one in there too. And let's get into those 3 favourites of the year so far. Let's kickstart with the Adidas SL2. These are in no order. I'll give you my pros and cons for each of them. That is a brilliant shoe. I haven't put too much mileage in it, but I got it just before my marathon training block. I had other shoes in there for my marathon training. The reason it didn't quite slip into that rotation was just due to some sizing issues. Classic Adidas. They don't seem to ever quite follow the same pattern of sizing as other brands. But when I got that sorted by basically taking out the insoles, everything's been fine, and I've been loving the shoe, and I've picked it back up a couple of times since that marathon training block. I probably ran one of the fastest workouts of the year in that shoe earlier back in the summer. It really shifts, and it shifts well. It is smooth, it is fast, and it is comfortable. The perfect amount of cushioning, brilliant midsole stack height in the 30s. It's exactly where I like it to be, especially for the longer reps as well, because it kind of gives still that good responsiveness and propulsion, but you still get a good comfort level. Something like the Kinvara, where the stack height's a little bit lower and lighter, your legs can feel a little bit more beaten up. So the SL2 really ticks that box. As I said, aside from the sizing issues, I've got to say, I've picked it up a couple more times since the marathon block and been very impressed. What I've really enjoyed about the shoe is its versatility. I know not everyone has got on with it. I have seen comments on some of my other videos saying some of you love it, others are not such a fan. Totally understand. Light Strike Pro is one of those midsoles you either love or hate. For me, it's on the firmer end of the spectrum, and I've got to say that works for me. I prefer a firmer midsole. I love the responsiveness and propulsiveness it gives without too much sinking in to the shoe. I do often find that if you get that more sink and bounce sensation, it can kind of sap the energy from my legs a little bit too much. Light Strike Pro does not do that. So very happy with the SL2 so far. As I said, pros, very fast, very nimble, on the heavier side of the spectrum when it comes to the shoes I'm about to talk about. But overall, very, very smooth, fast and agile. In terms of cons, as long as the sizing isn't an issue for you, I don't really think there is any. The upper fit is wonderful to complement the midsole. But if the sizing is an issue, I'd recommend just maybe doing a couple of tweaks, and as I have done, potentially even trying to take out the insole and replacing it with a thinner one. That might just do the trick. The Asics Noosa Tri 16 is up next, an unsung hero. I will repeat it again. You guys have banged the drum about this shoe for years to me. I finally seen the light with it. I picked it up earlier this year. I went for it. Absolutely fantastic. Lovely and lightweight. When Asics, I guess, and probably other companies, because I'm sure there are models in other lines from other companies that are exactly the same as this. When Asics are throwing all the technology at all of the other types of shoes, trying to promote everything else, that Noosa Tri 16 is going under the radar, but an absolutely brilliant shoe out there. Very, very neutral. Again, I've mentioned this, I'll talk about this in a second, but either way, an aggressive rocker, a lightweight feeling, a better sizing fit. A couple of you have found that one comes up a little bit short. I've got to be honest with you, I like a full thumb width in my shoes. I've got half a thumb width in the Noosa Tri. So if you're not a huge fan and you tend to run with half a thumb width at the end of your shoes, it might be worth half sizing up. Either way, it is a phenomenal shoe. I absolutely love it. It is one of the ones that has been a shining star. That did get into my marathon training rotation. That was good enough, and that knocked the Brooks Hyperion Max 2 out of the way. What do I love about it? Super fast, super aggressive. As I said, that rocker really does feel like you're stepping off a curb. It is a wonderful feeling when you get motoring in this shoe. It does easy pace as well. It does a good variety of stuff, but I feel like it shines the faster you go in the shoe. The only downside I can say about it, and I have mentioned it before, and I will give you that pre-warning because I did get it to 100 miles, and I did put it in that video, it is a very neutral shoe. So if you need some kind of support, or if you tend to find you can run in neutral shoes, but they might have a couple of supportive elements, maybe some built up material on the medial side of the shoe just to hold your ankle in place a bit more, or a little bit more firmer foam under that medial side, whatever it might be, the Noosa Tri will not give you that. I have found my ankles rolling in slightly, and so I do find that on a longer run in that shoe, my ankles can start to ache a little bit, but I tend to find that 6 to 10 mile range is absolutely fine, and my word, you can shift along in that shoe fast. And finally, the newest one to the rotation, but the one that is going to grow in terms of miles very, very fast, the Brooks Hyperion 2. So again, this is one you guys recommended. This is one that I planned to pick up earlier than I ended up picking it up, but I got it and it is absolutely phenomenal. I am a massive fan and have been a massive fan of the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, the Brooks Hyperion Max. The Max 2 is okay, it's a good shoe, but it's definitely kind of gone away from what the Tempo and the Max version 1 kind of was. It's added a plate in it, a little bit bigger stack, a bit of a bulkier shoe, huge weight gain, definitely put itself into a different category. So if you're used to what the Tempo offers and you're used to what the Max version 1 offers, the Hyperion 2 is indeed the next logical upgrade. And I will repeat, you guys did tell me this indeed before I picked up the shoe. It is a phenomenal shoe, lovely and lightweight, super fast, the lightest of the three that I've mentioned, and very, very quick. I've done some fast workouts in that shoe already, and as I said, this one, in terms of mileage, this will really start to rock it. This is going to be a mainstay in my winter training rotation as I train for a half marathon over the next 12 weeks. This is going to get a lot of weekly use. I, at the moment, cannot find a con with this shoe. The fit is sublime. What Brooks do in terms of laces is brilliant. I know it's such a small feature, but they have little like nubbies on the laces, little bite points where when you pull them tight, they just don't come loose. The upper fit is wonderful. The tongue sits over snug. And the midsole, well, if you're used to the midsole that you've experienced in the Max and the Tempo, you will absolutely love this shoe. As I said, the next logical upgrade from the Hyperion Max version 1, if you're looking to get another shoe in your rotation along those sort of lines. Now, of course, an obvious omission, the shoe that I've put 500 miles in this year is the Adios Pro 3 from Adidas. I've tried to avoid putting plated shoes or shoes with, let's say, technology in them. I guess that most of the shoes that I've listed have aggressive rockers, and that's about it. But I will just again give a quick shout out to the Pro 3. That has been, through my marathon training, a brilliant shoe. Not a shoe I ever wanted to particularly race in. I just found it to be not quite as poppy and responsive as some of the other racing shoes that I love to use. Again, the Saucony Endorphin Elite and the Next Percent shoes are my favorites, but I will say Lightstrike Pro, just like in the SL2, is a fantastic midsole that in the Pro 3 just babied my legs so well, just looked after them whilst I was able to get in the workouts I could. So I will just mention, although I don't want to throw anything in here with carbon plates and rods really, I will just say the Adios Pro 3 is definitely one worth picking up, hopefully this Christmas when they do put it on discount. And let's wrap this one up with a couple of shoes that didn't quite do it for me, that are kind of intended for those up-tempo days, speed days, but I just find that I have better options. We'll start with the Pegasus Plus, bit of a curveball, because I've got to say, I'm really starting to enjoy this shoe. Again, this is one that I got during my marathon training block, didn't force its way into the rotation. It was towards the end of the block, but I just didn't want to slot it in there. Did a workout in it, probably one of the biggest fartlek workouts of the block, 2 by 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and I cut the paces down really well in the shoe, and it did really well. But again, in terms of weight, it was very much a lot heavier than some of the other shoes. What I have found though, since wrapping up the marathon block and moving on, is it has become one of my most comfortable daily trainers that I have in my rotation. And again, I am using it every single week at the moment. So I am really enjoying that shoe. I just feel like it is not going to match up with the speed day shoes that I have, and I can find a better use for that shoe. So I've got to be honest with you, when I tested it and did my first impressions video, very impressed with the shoe in terms of like it did the speed workout really well. I was very impressed. I did mention that it was a lot heavier than some of its competitors, and I did feel like it would set itself back because of that. But I will say, despite it not being the lightest and the best speed day shoe out there, it is definitely got a place in my rotation for the easier days. And wrapping this one up is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, probably one of the most disappointing shoes of the year for me. I know I'm probably going to go against the grain when I say this. The Speed 1 and 2 were absolutely phenomenal. Such a brilliant shoe. The 3 changed, made it more stable, a little bit wider. I keep saying this all the time in every video. If you follow the channel, you'll hear me talk about this a lot, but they definitely made it a safer shoe in version 3. But I still felt the 3 gave some good options there, and I put a lot of miles in that shoe, despite a bit of heel rubbing here and there. The 4 seems to have kind of nosedived a little bit. It's very much kept the same setup in terms of the geometry, the shape of the shoe. The midsole this year though is really damn flat, and I can't work out why. I'm running along and I'm noticing that I'm just not getting a lot of spring back from the shoe, not getting a lot of propulsiveness. It is very comfortable when you are running, but you don't get that pop that you're used to when it comes to the speed shoes. And I feel like the speed name shouldn't be used on this shoe. I know that's a little bit brutal, a bit harsh, but I just don't feel like it's one of those shoes that necessarily has been a shining star this year. It's really disappointing actually. I've kind of found the same in the Pro version 4, but that is a separate video I think in itself. So overall, yeah, the Speed 4, it did okay, it did all right. Another issue that I found in the Pro 4, which I fixed with the lacing, is the fact that my toes were rubbing together. For some reason, the toe box seemed to be a little bit narrower. I then experienced that in the Speed version 4 as well, and that meant that I wasn't going to be putting any more miles in that shoe for the foreseeable future as well. So there we go, 3 honourable mentions, 3 of my favourites, a cheeky Adios Pro 3 plug, and then 2 of the shoes that didn't quite do it for me. Those are my favourite shoes of the year and some recommendations. I'd love, of course, to hear from you guys, because of course I can test a fair amount of shoes, but certainly not all of them, and I'd love to hear if there's any that you've tested this year that are not in this list and that you would recommend to me and other people out there. Please do share that in the comments below and let me know how you feel about the list that I've made today. It'd be great to hear if you agree, disagree. It would just be brilliant to hear from you down in the comments below. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one.